This is GFree Radio.
And it is episode 24. Thank you so much for the loan of your ears this week and other weeks, and especially if you're a new listener, we really appreciate you joining us. If you're a little late to the party, don't worry, there's plenty of gluten-free vol au vents to go round. Oh, that's an idea, isn't it? Gluten-free puff pastry. No one's ever been quite able to do that, have they yet? But as the party season approaches, gluten-free puff pastry, there's an idea. Someone would make their fortune with that, wouldn't they? I think so. We're talking about Christmas a little bit later on in this part of this particular episode, and also about restaurants and how they can really reassure you. Some new stats out about gluten-free eating, and also coming up soon, the second part of our interview with Udi's UK, and they're talking about the parent company, Boulder Brands, biggest GFree company in the United States and Canada, of course, why they decided to launch in the UK here and now, and also a bit more about, well, our interviewee himself, Simon Hazlett. So listen to more from Simon in the next few minutes of the show. Let's bring you those stats then. More than a quarter of Americans eat gluten-free foods to help them lose weight. That's as maybe, but here are the other stats as to why they go G-free. It's not just the gluten intolerant who are filling their carts with wheat-free products. Indeed, 65% of consumers who eat or used to eat gluten-free foods do so because they think they are healthier. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 65%. 27% eat them because they feel they aid in their weight loss efforts. So this isn't, well, actually, I feel better eating G-free and also I'm going to lose a bit of weight as well. This is 27% of people eat them because they feel they aid in their weight. They're actually going out, it seems from that, if my interpretation is correct, specifically to eat G-free to help them lose weight. Ladies and gentlemen, you and I know this is not the be-all and end-all. This is not the point. I mean, let's put aside the celiac thing for a moment, but G-free, as we know, G-free food has to have other things in it for the consistency, for the taste, for the texture, for that mouth feel, and that very often is more sugar, more fat. I know there is a lot of talk around at the moment about the amount of sugar and fat in some of our G-free products. And we all love a G-free cake. We all love a muffin or a bagel or a slice of bread. Oh, even the humble slice of bread can have lots of nasties in. But you know what? It's a little, and in moderation, isn't it? They are treat products, and also it's your whole other lifestyle too, isn't it? It's what you have with it, and the exercise you take, and all the other fresh produce. I've got an expert on that in a few moments' time, incidentally. Additionally, let's go back to this report in Mintel.com. Additionally, over a third of Americans who eat or used to eat gluten-free foods say they do so for reasons other than sensitivity. 7% say they eat them for inflammation, and 4% say they purchase them to combat depression. To combat depression. Interesting stuff. When looking at the top 10 gluten-free food product claims in Mintel's Global New Products Database, after gluten-free and low, no, reduced allergen, there are also product claims associated with being natural and free of additives or preservatives. This positioning of gluten-free products as having multiple health benefits, such as low fat or no animal fat, seems to be what is leading to consumer perceptions that gluten-free products are healthier than products containing gluten. Isn't that interesting? The positioning of gluten-free products as having multiple health benefits. So, what do you think of that? I'm going to just leave that hanging. Just going to leave that hanging for you to draw your own conclusions. We've got some great stuff coming up about Christmas in a few moments' time. And also, we're going to be hearing more about the most recent brand to launch in the United Kingdom, as far as we know. If you've just launched your gluten-free brand and you want to mention on the radio, then drop us a line. Tweet us at GFree Radio, gfreeradio@hotmail.com. I'm Peter Stewart. Here's something I've been talking about for this part and also the previous part of this particular episode, and this is a blog by a freaking celiac. A couple of weeks back now, but we kept it because we wanted to find an opportunity to bring this to you, and that is about gluten-free is the big trend in restaurants right now, and I hope it's a trend that continues and doesn't fizzle out like Technicolor T-shirts and the pet rock. And it goes on to say, I've discussed at length on this blog about the dangers of trusting a gluten-friendly menu from a chain restaurant. The problem with this trend is in the training. Offering gluten-free menu options isn't the half of what restaurants need to do if they want to tap into this new marketing goldmine. Goldmine, ladies and gentlemen. They have to train from the head to the tail of the restaurant. The report, or this blog, goes on in some detail. It's all interesting, but I know we're a bit pushed for time. But an amazing example of a restaurant that understands good training is The Keg. The Keg restaurant. The menu itself has plenty of options, from salads to the best of the best entrees. The difference sits mainly in the details, of which The Keg dazzles in spades. After ordering, the manager comes to your table and discusses your meal at length. This is a touch that I encourage every single restaurant to incorporate in their gluten-free practices. This extra set of eyes helps me breathe easily and relax during my meal. I know that someone other than my server, who has at least 3 other tables, all with their own individual needs, has their eye on my ball. Their words, not mine. They also have... I just put a pause in there for you to snigger. They also have the manager run the food, which again makes a massive difference and avoids me being the caddy bitch who interrogates the poor server with, "Are you sure it's gluten-free?" To which I often get a vacant deer in headlights look, and it sends me into a panic. This is so true, isn't it? We've all been there. Yeah, this is the right one, isn't it? The Keg. At the Keg, the chef himself ran my food out to me. Wow, that is just so reassuring, and it's so polite, isn't it, as well? The Keg manager explained the chain of events that would take place during the preparation of my meal. The grill cook was cleaning their grill as we spoke. New salad bowls were being pulled from dish to toss my salad. The sous chef had been informed, as well as the expediter. This is important to note, as that means there are now 3 sets of trained eyes double-checking everything that goes on my plate. Isn't that fantastic? areyoufreakingceliac.com if you want to read more on that particular report and about their experiences at the Keg. And you know what? I think what they fail to do is mention where the Keg is. But that's good stuff to know. That's good stuff to know. How many times have you been sitting with somebody at a restaurant and you've ordered something which is naturally gluten-free or is in the gluten-free part of the menu? It's got the little sign beside it, or you've been assured is GF, and you've ordered that, and they've ordered the same thing. And you've thought to yourself, you know what? There is room for mix-up here. The same item to the same table, one gluten-free variety, say, one non-gluten-free variety. Is someone going to be able to recognise which is which? When they pick them up from the counter and they bring them, are they going to remember that that is in the left hand, that's in the right hand? Are they going to remember that? How many times have you changed your meal so it is different and specifically different and obviously different, or you've asked your other half or your friend or your colleague to do that for you? It's happened to me many, many times. It just builds in that extra kind of control, doesn't it, at the table. Now, this is a mention for one of our very good friends. You'll remember several episodes ago, we went to a gluten-free supper club in South London when we reported back from there. and we put something out on the show, and that was run by Rosie Norman. Rosie, who approached us at the GFree Radio the very first weekend that we'd set up GFree Radio. So we like to think she's one of our oldest friends. She's not old, I'm not saying that. We've just known her a long time, and we're really supportive of what she's doing. She's absolutely fantastic. We love her to pieces, and what she's doing is brilliant. And it's not just us says that, because also she has been chosen as Website of the Week, ladies and gentlemen, in the national newspaper, the Daily Mail. Let me just read out this snippet from the Daily Mail. Most gluten-free recipes are as dry as the bread they leave out. What? Doesn't quite make sense, does it? Daily Mail's words, not Rosie's. But celiac Rosie Norman changes all that with delicious recipes for ravioli, sweet potato, soda bread and beetroot brownies. A strong new voice in healthy eating. Rosie, I'm so pleased for you, so proud that we know you, and really appreciate what you're doing. And please do stop by glutenfreerosie.com. Because some of the recipes in there and some of the recipes we tasted when we went to a supper club are extraordinary. They are just superb. They are just so different and fresh and vibrant and exciting and innovative. It's really great stuff. And you know what? When I was reading this on her website, and it got me looking and investigating on her website. Here it is. This is what I wanted to bring you. How about this? Skins on beetroot and sweet potato brownies. Gluten-free, sugar-free and vegan. What I do with these scripts, when I've read them, is I put them in a pile to my left. Okay? That recipe goes in my special pile on my right-hand side. That is, need to follow up after the show. I'm going to be doing that. Do you trust me? Am I going to... Do you believe that I'm going to try those particular brownies? Yeah? The skins on beetroot and sweet potato brownies. I haven't even looked at the recipe. It's just the name that is making my mouth water. I hope it's not one of those where I look at it and go, it's a bit difficult. Oh dear, I've set myself up for a fall, haven't I? Let's move on swiftly. Let's move on and bring you the second part of our interview with Simon Hazlett. And Udis were mentioned on brandchannel.com. In the past week. It proved to be a smart purchase when Smart Balance bought the Udi's gluten-free brand a year ago. Udi's sales of bread and other baked goods up 47% for the second quarter, up 56% for the year to date over 2012. The reason is that the Boulder, Colorado-based brand has found a formula for success in the exploding gluten-free marketplace. The key to tapping into the fast-growing interest by Americans in avoiding foods with the protein that gives dough its elastic texture is taste, according to the CMO of Udi's gluten-free foods. Udi's kind of changed the category with that, says Denise Siravatka. Before we came along, the products that were available tasted terrible. They tasted like sandpaper. People would just walk away from the category if they could. Consumers just stopped eating sandwiches. We created bread that tastes as good as wheat-containing bread. Well, what do you think? Have you tried the range yet? Mull on that as you listen to this, the second part of our interview with their UK MD. Here's Simon Hazlett.
The word we would use in the States is community. It's all about building community. And that isn't necessarily just to give information about our brands, our products. It's to give an informed, impartial view as well.
Why did Udis decide to come over here now? Why here? Why now?
I think there's a few reasons. I think the most obvious would be timing. So they've had very good success in the States and Canada. As I say, it's driven by quality, innovation and width of range. There was an opportunity to enter the UK market and ultimately the European market. So the UK is a stepping stone to get into the rest of Europe. And I think the right situation presented itself at the right time.
And how long have you been with the company? Were you brought in just ahead of the UK launch, or have you been with Boulder Brands for a while?
No. Boulder Brands acquired Davis Bakery. Davis Bakery was my business. So I am fifth generation Davis, so I've been with the company for 14, 15 years, was the old managing director and old owner.
Oh, okay, so you know the UK market pretty well, and this is the factory that they've taken over and expanded. Is that right?
That's correct. So it's a factory that I built myself and designed, and it's completed April 2010, I think, top of my head. And obviously we've had some recent modifications and some further expansion plans ahead.
So how much of the Udi's brand is actually made over here rather than imported? I would guess that the importation is pretty expensive, but then if you've got such a wide range, it's going to be difficult to make everything over here, isn't it?
Absolutely, and we come back to timescales. So since the acquisition, which I believe was beginning of May, and the launch into Tesco, clearly October, clearly we have had to import some of the items. All I can say is the long-term, medium-term plan is to bring as much as we possibly can back to the UK.
And would you be outsourcing some of that work to other groups, other food manufacturers?
Possibly, that is the model in the States, but being a fifth-generation baker myself, I would like to produce as many products as possible under the UK roof.
How difficult was it for you to kind of sign away the family business, as it were? Okay, you've joined up into a larger business, but I guess that was pretty difficult for you.
Not really, no. So when you start to look at the opportunities, I think the business has gone as far as it could under its current guise, and there was an acquisition in the middle. So Frank Roberts Bakery acquired Davis Bakery around about 3 years ago. So this was the second acquisition, if you like. But I think the future potential of the business is astronomical. If you look at the success in the States, Udi's, when it first started trading in the retailers, although it was around before then, around about £1.9 million in sales in 2009. 2012, that had risen to over 62 million. And by the end of 2013, we're looking at a turnover just for Udi's of over 100 million. So we're seeing absolute astronomical growth. And you can see from there what the pattern will hopefully become for the UK.
Well, certainly there are all sorts of different figures being bandied around, but one I heard recently was 23% is the GFree market, which is growing over here. I mean, you've hit this just at the right time, haven't you?
Absolutely, but just to reiterate, so our success in the States has been all about growing categories. So coming over to the UK market and offering such a choice and range can only be a benefit to growing the free-from market in total. And what that will do ultimately is give much more choice to consumers.
And also it's going to, a phrase I used last week on the programme, really upset the market, isn't it? I mean, what is your intention to do as far as that goes, say with pricing, for example? I guess a business model would be, if you've got the power of bolder brands behind you, to undercut some of the other offers that are already on the shelves.
To be quite honest, all we do is concentrate on ourselves. So as I said before, it's all about the right launch at the right time for the right products. Price doesn't really come into that at the minute. We just have to concentrate ourselves on making sure we do the best possible product and give the consumer the best possible range. Okay,
so you gave an idea of more brands coming over here, or more lines coming over here in the next 12, 18 months or so, and then it's marching into Europe. Would that be run out of your UK factory, or would you be looking at other factories across those other states?
It's an interesting question, actually. So, and I'm once again coming back down to it. This is the first day we've launched into the UK market, and whereas we have our own opinions on Europe, I think probably look to launch into Europe from the UK, and then obviously just see what options are available.
And obviously another huge market is Australasia. But inevitably, the logistical problems getting down there, and certainly shipping items and even kind of communicating and that kind of stuff. You've obviously got to be based down there if you were going to break into that market. Is that something on the radar?
It's something that's more than on the radar. So we have just recently launched, or about to launch, products into Australia under the Udi's brand, but actually serviced from the States.
Okay. And what can people expect over the next few weeks? Obviously, there's going to be a lot of promotion. Tell us where we should be looking out for Udi's products, what we need to be looking at as far as special offers and promotions go.
So we'll be running a promotion in Tesco, all Udi's lines 50p off. So all of the 19 lines will be running that from the RRP. There'll be lots of information on our social and digital, lots of pieces appearing in various key media. and that's it.
Okay. And you say social media, so you better tell us where people can find you and where they can follow you and friend you and so on.
Absolutely. So it's udisglutenfree.com, and we have our own Facebook page, a link off there, and our own Twitter, and various other types of social media.
And tell us finally, what is your favourite line? What is it that? Actually, are you celiac yourself, or you just kind of happened to fallen into the gluten-free market with your background as a baker?
I'm not, but my auntie is. So 13, 14 years ago, when we made the decision from a family local company with our own shops to really specialise in the gluten-free market, it was one of the key underlying decisions. And in terms of favourite products, probably far too many to list, to be honest. So I'm a big fan of the less than 3% fat bread. I think probably my favourite product, however, is the toffee muffin, which really has to seem to be believed, and the ancient grain crisps that we're doing. So we do a cheddar and jalapeno. So probably those three items.
And our thanks again to Simon for his time in speaking to us about 10 days ago. The first part of that interview, incidentally, can be heard, in the same places you found me talking to you here and now. And, of course, all of our episodes are archived and they're all available for download. You can listen to them again and again. You can save them. You can go back to them. They're available on iTunes and also Spreaker.com. In other words, probably where you're listening to me here now on this particular part of this particular episode. And also they're available more latterly on YouTube as well. So if for some reason that is your mode of listening of choice, then you can do that. So looking forward to Christmas. Ooh, it's that time again. It's not far away. Or maybe you've got a birthday coming up and you're preparing a list. This caught my interest in the course of the week. From curry making, bread making, through to men-only classes, cookery schools are cropping up everywhere. Why do people pay so much money for a day in the kitchen? This report on the BBC website, bbc.co.uk/food. Classes ranging, I'll paraphrase, classes ranging from around £45 for an evening to around £200 for a luxury full-day course. Cookery schools are reporting rising interest from clients seeking a high-end culinary experience. Apparently, people often visit after foreign holidays wanting to recreate dishes which they ate abroad. People enjoy having a relaxed, fun evening. Students often book them as groups as an alternative to meeting for a restaurant meal. That's interesting. Nick Wyke, food writer at The Times and founder of the online directory Looking to Cook, didn't know that existed. That's interesting. We'll take a nose at that. Says hands-on schools, both short courses and professional qualifications, are growing in popularity, from teenagers who are opting to take chef training courses rather than go to university, to dads who are keen to add to their repertoire at home. This is in line with people, he says, seeking more experimental ways to spend money and leisure time. So perhaps that's a sign that the economy is picking up. The company Red Letter Days, which sells experiences as gifts, says demand for Cookery School Day has boomed in the last 5 years. Sales of foodie experiences like Cookery School Days and dining experience are growing at 18% year on year. There's a danger of information overload, says Michelle Rice, who writes the blog Utterly Scrummy, about feeding families good food on a budget. It's very difficult to cover a large amount of cookery skills in one day. Consequently, most one-day courses are on one topic or theme, not a good general grounding in cookery techniques. They're high-end classes at the Square Food Foundation Cookery School in Bristol. They offer community classes for just £2.50 and free cookery classes aimed at groups like sex workers, teenagers from behavioural units and people with drug and alcohol problems. That is fantastic. What a great outreach project that is. How to cook, how to learn a skill, how to look after yourself. That is brilliant. I'm really impressed with that. bbc.co.uk/food. Do you think we should do another series of podcasts just on food, cooking, generally away from gluten? Oh, I don't man alive. I don't have the time. It's a great idea, isn't it? But a great idea. but I don't have the time. But you know what? That's 18% year on year. So if you've got a particular skill in the cooking department, maybe you should be climbing aboard that particular bandwagon. We mentioned Christmas. Marks and Spencer's really doing us a treat at the moment. And I really wish they would respond, because I have sent them, boy oh boy, so many tweets, so many messages, so many requests to speak to them, and they just do not engage. And I think that's a great, great shame, because they're doing some really good innovative stuff at the moment. We'll come to one other item in a few moments' time. Gluten-free spiced cookies for Christmas from Marks and Spencer are around at the moment in a tube, so look out for those. They are new. Talking about Christmas, you know the guides you get at the store about the different Christmas foods that you can order in store, you know, and pick up during December and so on, and they list all the different foods and the meats and the pre-prepared vegetables and the salmon and the ice creams and the bombs and the cakes and all the rest of it. Let me read you this. This is from, which magazine have we got here? This is from Sainsburys. Okay, this is from Sainsburys. Turkey crown with maple and chestnut stuffing, bacon and a maple glaze. Doesn't that sound good? £50 for 3.5 kilos, 10 to 12. That's immaterial. Our show-stopping by Sainsbury's crown tastes as impressive as it looks. Basted for a succulent texture and great flavour, the crown is filled with a maple and chestnut stuffing and topped with unsmoked streaky bacon. A sticky maple glaze is added just before the end of cooking for a stunning finish. And underneath it says contains milk and sulfites. That sounds good, doesn't it? Because that stuffing there is gluten-free. Unlike some of the stuffings on other pages, because underneath it they say, as far as the stuffing goes, here's one, sausages wrapped in bacon with rosemary, contains wheat gluten and sulfites. So there you go. Congratulations to Sainsbury's for that. Here's a comparable turkey and stuffing from Tesco's. British free-range bronze whole turkey with the chestnut and cranberry stuffing, £10 a kilogram, prepared by hand with a tasty British pork stuffing and decorated with a lattice of bacon that keeps the meat wonderfully moist. Bronze is a slow-growing breed, producing a deliciously full flavour. No mention. Doesn't say it's got gluten in, doesn't say it hasn't got gluten in. And you know what? You can look through the rest of their magazine and there is no mention of which of those stuffings or which of the other items they've got listed in here. And it's mainly birds, but it's also fish with various glazes and so on, and various crumbed things. Was that a crumbed beef there at the back I've just seen, and so on. No mention of gluten, sulfites, lactose, nuts, nothing. I wrote to them and pointed this out, and they said, sorry for any disappointment this may cause. A bit more than disappointment if you got poisoned, wouldn't it? I'll ensure your concerns are passed back. Do you reckon they're going to do a reprint of that magazine for Christmas? Me neither. Me neither. Sainsbury's, out of those two, you've come out trumps. Brilliant, well done. And on a similar theme, hazelnut. Hazel, GF hazelnut. Don't you just hate it when you get geared up to bake Christmas cakes? Then notice the ground almonds contained gluten. I didn't realise that. I've always thought, ground almonds, that's it, they're ground almonds. I've never looked at the ingredients. Mental note, look at ingredients of ground almonds. Look at ingredients for everything in future. I'm banging my head with my forefinger to make sure it goes in. Ground almonds. Some ground almonds can contain gluten. Baking fail hashtag from Hazel. Thanks for bringing that to our attention. We mentioned Marks and Spencer's a few moments ago. Happy days, says GF Joe. Marks and Spencer now do gluten-free breaded fish. Last night's dinner was a good one. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Last week we mentioned I'd bought several new gluten-free items at Marks and Spencer, including their fish cakes, and included, we mentioned the breaded ham as well, the sliced breaded ham. Marks and Spencer's, please come back and acknowledge how well you are doing, because we're really impressed with you. Now the gluten-free breaded fish. Fantastic stuff. A couple of other things before we go. First of all, let's remind you what was in part one of the show. We spoke with our concluding part of our interview with Nikki Everett from Raising Our Celiac Kids. We mentioned the whole Paul Hollywood situation, where he perhaps got a little bit confused with the whole celiac and gluten-free thing. I think we know what he was trying to say, but he was man enough to get on Twitter afterwards and engage with people who were criticising him. So listen back to part one at your leisure. We talked about vitamin D's and also probiotics, which may help sort out your innards if you're in a bit of a quandary about what else you can do. And we also mentioned Rosie at gluten-free Rosie, and also that vending machine. What about that vending machine, eh? What about it? Really impressed with that. We can't wait to see one. We've got a bit of travelling to do in the new year, so we're going to be keeping our eyes out for that in the next few months. Okay, Tuesday the 22nd of October. If you haven't signed up already, then do sign up. I know there's only a couple of days for this. There's a conference and exhibition. Food Allergy Training Consultancy is running that. We spoke with Caroline a few weeks ago on the programme about the new food allergen information regulations and asking, is your business ready? It's the biggest change in food safety legislation since 2006. If you want to get involved, FATC for Food Allergy Training Consultancy, fatc.co.uk/events. Check that out because that is going to save you an awful lot of grief if you can just get up to speed all in once on one particular day. And there's some really interesting people who are going to be there at that particular conference. The changes going on, people from the Food Standards Agency, and also some bloggers and legal aspects of food labelling, allergen management and things like that. So do get involved with that, or do follow that particular situation and event on Twitter if you can. And finally, we're thinking of you guys over in LA, the Food Allergy Walk in LA, which is all happening on the 27th of this month. So I hope that goes well. And finally, let me bring you some few thoughts about what's going to be in next week's programme. And that is, we're going to be talking about cereals. Look at some breakfast cereals. So if you think your favourite deserves a mention, let us know. And also we're going to be continuing our series on various grains. We're going to be taking a look at buckwheat next week on the programme. As I say, thank you for the loan of your ears. This is the GFree radio show. There's not another one like it. We got 1,000 listens every month, and that is growing all the time, that particular average. We really appreciate your support. Don't forget, if you're going to favourite something for you on Twitter, it's probably worth sharing as well. We really appreciate your retweets. And I'll leave you with this, which is a pithy comment from Andrew Carr on Twitter, actually from Fork Off Gluten. Fantastic name. Look what you can eat, not what you can't.